morning. This is going to be our first try at the London Met MBA podcast. This is going to be our first podcast where we have Nina with us, who was last year's MBA president. Nina, could you give us a bit of an insight to who you are?
Right, hi everybody. It's lovely to come back and thank you for welcoming back. I was an MBA president for this student cohort for last year for a few months, and it was a very privileged position to be in and one that I really appreciated. I returned to education as a mature student. My employment background has been in retail management and retail banking, customer services. Thereafter, I've sort of pursued a course of a period, taken a sort of a few years to obtain my degrees at London Met prior to progressing on to completing recently my MBA. And that's a brief introduction to myself as a former student, and now I'm privileged to define myself as part of the alumni and coming back without having to do the stresses of any more assignments, just meeting everybody and enjoying the progression and seeing new students. It's lovely to see new fresh faces as well.
Okay, so together collectively we've come up with a couple of questions we'd like to ask you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So we can start from the first one. So what would you do differently academic-wise if you had to start over?
I think for any individual that's returning to education, especially if you're in employment or whether you've got external responsibilities and commitments, returning to education will be a challenge. But what you must do is not look at those challenges as something that is problematic. A challenge is to be perceived as an opportunity, and especially on the MBA program, it's actually constructed. It's a process. It's not just a degree. It's a professional practitioner course. So it will prepare you and equip you with skills, and also you'll go through internal metamorphosis, transformation, which may not be particularly inherently obvious to you as individuals until you come out of the other side, and but it is something which you need to be prepared for. It's also it's a demanding program, so mentally and physically you need to be prepared for that. So obviously if you're from overseas, there'll be a different sort of methodology in the way that it's taught, and also the content as well. Some modules may have different context from your initial expectations, but again, it's all been constructed, to complement you to becoming potentially a leader, whichever sort of sector or profession you decide to embark upon.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Has the MBA made a difference for you in your life?
Yes, tremendously. I will have to obviously extend my thanks to my mentor and teacher, Hazel Messenger. She's actually sort of witnessed and observed from afar when, the transformation. As I said, we all, as individuals, you're always evolving. You're never sort of static, so you're always evolving as an individual, whether you're an adult, and it doesn't matter what age you are. And I came back in studying as a mature student in my 40s, in actual fact. So, and I'd had 20 years of steady employment and, good career progression with, with RBS and Monson, etc. So the big companies, multinational companies with good career prospects. However, I was feeling a high degree of dissatisfaction, but I couldn't quite relate to the why, what, and then you come to a point that you decide to reevaluate a lot of things, so it's made a difference to me with regards to developing my skills, my leadership skills, my motivation, my communication skills, predominantly confidence as well. So I feel in any situational context, the knowledge, theoretical knowledge, the skills that I've acquired, I would feel 100% confident in whoever may be present, whether you're a CEO of a multinational, royalty, or whether you just work, as a barista. It doesn't matter what profession you have or what status you are. Your inner self-confidence and self-belief, that confidence is then projected, and those are skills that I acquired whilst I did the MBA. Now, I wasn't a total wallflower, however, I know from where I was before and how I was before as a person to where I am now, and how I hope and perceive myself to be in the future, that those skills were honed whilst I was within doing the MBA program. And a lot of it is done unconsciously, so you're not really consciously aware of that you're developing your competence in so many areas, but that is a result of the way the program has been constructed. And a lot of the personality, the leadership traits, is sort of almost you don't realise you don't realise to what extent a lot of the skills that you develop will also help you within your personal life. So if you've got, like, for example, if personal tragedies hit you, or you have personal challenges, or you have challenges within the workplace, again, issues can arise in so many ways, and you can never foresee the future. The future is so unpredictable. You only have the present moment in time that you're aware of what's happening, but you can never predict what's going to. Life can be so unpredictable, but you develop skills to be able to manage change and manage adversity, and as well as opportunity as well, and knowing how to really appreciate that you're on a journey of evolution, evolving continuously as an individual.
It's something that I'm experiencing too. Because I'm doing a lot of stuff that I kind of feel that's outside of my comfort zone. That's new stuff for me too, and it's Okay, so what challenges are you facing as an MBA graduate, and how would you apply them in the workplace?
Right, the challenges I think you face as an MBA graduate is time management, and also dealing with that little voice in your head, procrastination and overwhelm. So you're kind of having to balance the two. So sometimes you will be feeling overwhelmed because it can be quite a highly pressurized, especially when you've got deadlines for submissions. That's when you may find yourself, feeling a little bit overwhelmed. But again, you've got to contend with procrastination. So I would say the best tool is utilizing a lot of time management tools, whether those are supplied to you within the course, and reading through time management is also important, something that is a really good transferable skill, not only in your personal life, but in the workplace. Because as your responsibilities will increase, hopefully once you graduate and you go into your new career path or promotions within the post, your responsibilities will inevitably increase, and it's always good to know how to manage and prioritize not only your time, but also knowing how to cope with the pressures and stress as well. You also find that challenges can be in your skills development. You may have certain weaknesses in certain areas where previously you were assumed, or you had the assumption that you were fairly competent, degree of competency, and then you just find out that, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I was in this area, in this criteria. And it's just to be receptive to feedback from your lecturers. But again, that is also transferable in the workplace. You've got to be if you are going to be a potential leader within the context of the workplace, or in your home as well, in your whichever sort of situation you're in, you have to be, as an individual, receptive to feedback, and also feedback, whether it's from lecturers, from your workers, from employees, from staff, because that is the only way that you can, in actual fact, make improvements and manage change, and to get an honest, it also, feedback provides an honest dialogue between, people from, your perception, but also getting honest feedback about, yourself or issues and things. So I think that's, in addition to that, the challenges as an MBA graduate are you're kind of in a cocoon at the moment. When you leave, you need a period of transition. Now, obviously, some of you who may be working at the moment, it may not be so impactful, but some of you who are doing this course full time, you are in a bit of a bubble, and it is a cocoon. But again, it's always, look at it when you finish. It's always nice to think of it as a period of opportunity, and look at it as an excitement, rather than something to be wary about, because it can open so many doors of opportunity, but you have to go and knock and open those doors, because people aren't going to come to you, and you really need to maximize the relevance of having your degree, an MBA. Don't just leave it sort of like a trophy sitting, certificate hanging on your wall. Really utilize it. So utilize it for opportunities, through networking as well. Again, these are all challenges you will face, because you have to develop opportunities, but then you have to decide what is your trajectory, your career path. How do you want to kind of move forward in your life after having done this degree and put in so much effort and time? And it is a lot of effort. It is hard work. It's not easy. I'm not going to gloss over the fact that there have been times where you do sort of go through periods of, oh, this is exhausting or tiring. But at the end of the day, once you've got that certificate, your MBA, you're an MBA graduate, and you will realise, no matter where you go, that is something that it will open doors for you, and it also gives you a degree of competence of skills to others. It shows people that you've got a degree of knowledge, and that certificate is your sort of award for all that hard work that you've put in, and you should appreciate it, but don't leave. Like I said, utilize it, maximize the opportunities that it can present to you eventually within the workplace, and in other areas as well.
Okay. Are there any specific things that we should look out for
within the MBA program? I think group work, again, learning how to deal with conflict and decisions. You've got to look at it as it's almost as though you can sort of, as a practice session for, again, something that you could apply when you go in the workplace. So I think that is very important, learning teamwork skills, learning communication skills, and I think that within the context of the MBA is enjoying every moment. Enjoy it. It's not the lights have gone out. But so enjoy being an MBA student, and use your students, or your sort of, it's like your support network for each other. Support each other. Don't work in isolation. If you find any difficulties, because we all have different strengths and weaknesses, then pick up the phone, text or email, or meet for a coffee. I would say it's not only is it a good community, it is a sort of, you're a little community of individuals, and you're all sharing this experience of being an MBA student together, and it's one that you're never going to, once it's finished and that's it, but it's nice that you keep in touch, because you could make lifelong friends, but you have to want to, it's like in any situation, you have to invest the time in bonding with each other and getting to know each other, spending time, sharing your experiences, but sharing also the difficulties that may arise as well. And so just being open to that, but also being a little bit empathetic sometimes as well, because you will find, it's not, as I said, there will be times when you will be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, if it's got external responsibilities as well, or if English is a second language for you as well. So there's always going to be periods where you will find, but then you it's like you pick yourself up and you move on, and then you get over it. It's just like learning to deal with those challenges that pose itself within the context of the MBA program. But I can wholeheartedly say that it was one of the best experiences in my life, and a very rewarding experience, and one which I wish all of you to have a really extremely joyful experience being an MBA student. And like I said, despite all the trials and tribulations, which there will be, let's be open and honest about it. Nothing is, it's not an easy ride being on an MBA program, but it's like being on a roller coaster. If you've ever been to like Thorpe Park or any sort of fairground, there's ups and downs, but there's also exhilaration as well. And really appreciate, because you're on a journey and it's a process, and you will develop, and also you're not going to be mollycoddled. It's about working as a group, because working collectively with your strengths, you can really, it's what you decide to make of it, like a breakfast meeting or podcast this morning. Again, it's what effort you put into it as collectively as a group, rather than as sort of singular individuals. But it's highly enjoyable, and I'm really glad that you invited me to be here today and meeting all of the new cohort as well. It's been lovely to get to have brief chats with you individually as well, and as well as meeting my former mentor, and I'd like to call her my professor, Hazel, Dr. Hazel Messenger. But it is a wonderful experience, and it is your perception of it.
So I know Edward has a list of questions there, but I was curious on something you mentioned about us being in a bubble right now. And I definitely see what you mean, because I'm a full-time student. I moved here for this. But what do you think we can do now to prevent this? Like, I don't want to come out in this bubble burst and I'm like, wait a second. So I'm sure there are things that we can be doing now that'll help us when we're not in this cocoon of a, safe education space.
Yeah, I think what you should do, to be honest, is think about now from the start, get-go, what do you want to do with your MBA? Okay, it's not just about getting the qualification, it's about how you're going to apply it and what sector you're going to go into. You need to reevaluate what your career path will be, your life path, what do you want to change your career path? Are you happy with it? Or are you going to utilize this as an opportunity to completely redefine the next 20 years of your life, moving into a different role? So, and you might need to, or do you just want to transition into a different area completely, or just progress in your current company? So, because again, if you start making those decisions, then there can be, like I said, it can be a life-defining moment. It can be a defining moment when you do graduate, when you do, because you have the door of opportunity, or the window of opportunity will only stay open for a short period of time for you to really maximize the opportunities that your MBA is going to grant you. And that's with prospective employers as well. Because if you're just going to go off for a gap year traveling and then try and find a job in a senior position, I don't know how well that will work. So you've got to kind of really do your planning and research from the beginning. So when you come out of the bubble, you're sort of prepared. You've done the preparation, about where you want to go after. It's just like forward planning, forward planning your next step in your life, after the degree. So that could be changing jobs completely, it could be starting your own business, it could be setting up an enterprise with somebody else, because the course also has a very good accelerator where you can take advantage if you've got a particular business idea that's in Genesis. They can help you actually find funding for that and make it a reality. So there's lots of things, but you've got to utilise the resources which the university actually provides you, and you're not going to be spoon-fed. You need to do your research and knock on the, submit applications if you want to set up a business to the accelerator. They do a big challenge, I think twice a year or once a year. Or if you want to attend, research certain companies, that contact the HR you can always find out opportunities, job opportunities. So you've got everything. As soon as you're finishing your degree, you've got your CV, you know what companies you want to apply for, you know what job position you want to apply for, or what sector, or you might decide you want to set up your own business. So,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions someone would like to ask? Okay, Nina, thank you very much for your time and coming to visit us this morning. So that concludes our first podcast. This was Nina and Edward. Thanks.